J. Michael Tatum, Brandon McInnes, and Xander Mobus.
Keep that holiday spirit out. Welcome, hello, hi. Hi. So. There's the energy we sort of.
It feels so early. Does it feel early to anyone else?
No!
Wow. I like your fire.
I think you're over your legal limit of caffeine. That's fine. I'm not there yet. I'll get there.
Inspiration this morning.
So shall we do like a little further introduction of who we are,
Yeah.
what we do?
Do you guys want to go first? I never know what to say on these things, so follow your lead.
Sure. So, hi, I'm J. Michael Tatum. How are you? Happy holidays. Thanks for coming. Calm down.
Sorry.
I'm a voice actor. I've been doing this for a very long time. I've been in everything. If it's an anime, apparently there's a law that I have to be in it. I didn't know this, but I'm happy for that. But I've also worked in the business as an adaptive writer and as a director. So feel free to ask questions along those lines as well. And the lovely human being to my right.
What are you in?
Everything I just said.
Wow.
Literally everything.
Everything.
Name a show.
Dr. Stone.
Yep. I like this game.
I was very disappointed when I watched that show and realized it wasn't just about weed.
Me too. Anyway.
What?
I've done tons of stuff. You probably know me most as Sebastian from Black Butler and Commander Erwin from Attack on Titan, my boy. Also Tenny Ida from My Hero, and lots of. I play a lot of guys who wear glasses and are a little sinister, or who have lost an arm. Weird trope to cover, but I got it. So tell them about yourself.
Oh, me. Hi, I'm Brandon McInnes. Hello. Thank you. I'm also in Dr. Stone as Gen. Fabulous Gen. Yeah, My Hero Academia as Sir Night Eye, and Finral and Black Clover. Some things here and there. Yeah, but that's me. I also sing. I do covers, write music. I make music with gloves too. That's a new thing that I'll be doing at my concert tonight at 7.
Explain what that means. When you just make music with gloves, it sounds like you're like doing occult things.
Oh, okay, so what I do is I have these gloves that can control software that can manipulate my voice and trigger things inside of my music software, and I do that live at my concerts. So yeah, I'll be doing that at 7 in special events in Crystal J, everyone. So yeah.
Super. I get to watch him doing it at home all the time, and I'm just kind of like, that's so cool.
Last night I was rehearsing,
It's
I was like
pulling,
covered in cables, and I'm singing, and he's like,
It's like he's doing a weird kind of techno, like Kamehameha, and doing a song at the same time. I'm like, this is an exciting time to be alive.
sounds very kinetic.
It's awesome.
But yeah, that's me.
Hi, I'm Xander. I am in like video games and stuff. I'm the announcer in Super Smash Brothers. Joker in Persona 5. Thank you. Let's see what else. Set in League of Legends, and it's too early for me to remember anything else. I'm around, I show up, I do stuff. Hi.
Welcome. We're good.
So good. It's nice. Like you're between two glasses, guys. It's fun.
Flanked by glasses. My new band name.
So yeah, does anyone have a question they want to ask? Just come up to the mic, or no, they're walking around with mics, aren't they? Are they? Yes, the gentlemen in the shiny coats.
Look for the glitter.
They will.
They will flag down.
They will come to you.
We also have the microphone up front.
Oh, and is the microphone up front usable? Sweet.
Okay. Should we do that instead?
Testing, 1, 2. Okay.
Yeah.
Hello.
Loud and clear.
Hi. Okay, well, she's gone. I apologize.
There she goes.
I guess I'll just talk like this. Hi. So, I don't really have any specific questions related to your work, and I hope this is okay that I can do this here in front of all these people. But would you like some candy?
I haven't touched sugar since I joined the church.
You're very kind. Hit me up after the pandemic.
Oh, that's perfectly fine. Second question that I just thought of now, actually. What's it like to be working alongside your husband in some of these animes you work on? I bet it's a lovely experience.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty good. There are directors that will put us in stuff because they want to see us opposite each other in a scene. And I feel like that's what Cliff Chapin did in Dr. Stone. He just really wanted to see me get beat up by him. So if you want to see that, Dr. Stone, yeah, that happens.
It's really fun, especially since we all record from home now for the most part. That was something that changed at the beginning, because of COVID. And but when we do dubs, we don't really get to work together. We all record individually, right? So while it sounds like we're recording at the same time, that's the magic of audio engineering and hopefully acting. But so we don't really get to work together. It's like really work together. Like we're not in the booth at the
standing
same
next to
time
each
working
other.
off of each other. Either he records first and I come in after him and get to work off of his recording, or vice versa. So, but it is nice to live in the same house with someone that you're in a show with, because then we can nerd out about it immediately. Like he gets out of the session, he's like, "Oh my god, I just killed you. You what?" Like that kind of thing. Like,
Murdered.
So it's really, really fun. It's nice being in the same business as your partner, because it kind of feels like you know the same people. We're part of the same family, and it's nice to. It's also nice. Showbiz is a weird business, and it's important to, if you're in it, it's important to have a support group that gets it, because it's not easy to be friends with or to be in a relationship with someone necessarily who's in the business, because their life is very strange. So it's really nice to be with someone.
Nice to have a partner that understands when you get out of the booth and you're like, those flaps were horrible, the worst flaps I've ever seen. And the other person knows what you're talking about, the mouth flaps.
Yeah. I don't know what they're talking about. Whenever I record with my husband in an anime, we're in the same booth together.
You're so lucky.
I know.
Wow.
We're just better than other people.
Yeah, no, I get that. It's fair.
Sorry. True. It's true.
Okay, thank you so much. Have a happy holiday, you guys.
Thank you, you too.
Happy holiday.
Yeah, sure, I'll take it. Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
How'd you guys get your start in like voice acting? Like, was there like shallow beginnings, or did you have like connections? Tough question.
I guess I'll go. I kind of fell into this back asswards. I started out in Seattle, Washington, which is not a town well known for its voiceover scene. Mostly like doing commercials and stuff like that. And then I booked Smash Brothers, and that kind of changed a lot for me. And then it was, move to Los Angeles because that's where the work was. Show up and be like, "I'm here now. Give me my roles." And then everyone's like, "Who the hell are you?" For, the next year of my life. So yeah, I don't know, man. It's been a weird, strange journey, but it's also been awesome. And I get to do my dream job every day. So that's pretty rad.
Me. I didn't think I was going to be an actor, though I trained for musicals. My background's in musical theater, and so I did that in high school and a little bit in college, and then I was a software engineer for 10 years. And my major in college was Japanese, and this will all come together. It does tie into the story. But we got together. I was living in Japan. I came back from Japan, had no plans on being a voice actor. And then Ian Sinclair, the director for Black Butler, hit me up at one point because we were all friends. And he said, "Hey, Brandon, I have this character in this show that the translator doesn't know the dialect of Japanese this is in." And I worked as a translator, right? And I said, "Okay, I'll look at it, Ian, sure." And I looked at it. The character was Joker in the Book of Circus, the 3rd season. And so I looked at it and I was like, "What is this accent? I have no idea what this is." So I went to, Japanese internet is a fascinating thing. They use websites that we don't use. They still use Yahoo Answers. anyone remembers that. And I found the answer on Yahoo Answers. It was performer's dialect from the mid 1800s that originated from like one entertainment district in Osaka. And so I found it and I got back with Ian and I was like, well, here you go, that's it. And so he got with Matt Mercer and they came up with like a UK dialect that worked for it. He was like, hey, what? I want you to like come in and voice all the cats. I was like, what? He's like, you want to come voice the cats? I'm like, sure, Ian, okay, I'll voice the cats. But I thought it was great because his whole reason for doing that was Sebastian doesn't care about anything. He doesn't give a crap about people, but he loves cats. And he's like, that's like Michael with you, Brandon.
Yeah.
So you should voice the cats.
Tatum doesn't care about anything except Brandon, so it kind of worked. Oh, I love the people that think, oh.
Love. But then I was in there and he was like, hey, do you have a British accent? Yeah. And then that was my first named role was Patrick Phelps in Book of Murder and Black Butler. Yeah. So that's how I got started. And then other directors were like, you sing, I need singers. I'm like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing, but let's do it, it'll be great. And that's how I got my start.
I have a very unorthodox entry into the business because I've been acting since I was about 9. I trained on stage and did a lot of touring as a kid. And a little bit of film, not much, there wasn't much film work where I lived, but there was a lot of theater, and so I just grew up on the stage. And then as adulthood approached, I decided I didn't really want to pursue it because it was, I guess I'd had my fill and was like, oh no, it's time to be an adult now and get a real job or whatever. And so I sort of turned my back on acting for a number of years. And then a friend of mine, Christopher Bevins, who's been a director and actor and writer with Funimation for a very long time at that point, we knew each other through mutual friends. We were buddies, and I knew what he did for a living. Oh, well, you work with the Dragon Ball people. That's really cool. And we just hung out. And then one afternoon, out of the blue, he called me to ask if I would audition for the show he was doing. And I was like, well, are you crazy? I've never voice acted before because all my acting was stage. And I was like, yeah, that sounds real cool. I appreciate you thinking of me, but no, I'm not really qualified. And so that was that. And then the next day he called me again and was like, hey, I'm working on the show. Do you want to, completely acting like we hadn't had the conversation the day before. And this kept escalating for a week when I would just kind of kindly beg off of this thing, and he would get a little more intense every time he asked. He's like, no, so really, when are you gonna come in? I need you to audition for it, like now, we're gonna start recording soon. I'm like, I don't know, I don't wanna do it, thank you, no. And he straight up tricked me, you guys. He straight up was like, look, you're not gonna get the part. I just need you to come and audition so I can say I've auditioned new people because my line producer just wants to hear new people. But he's like, I'm not gonna give you the part. So just come in, you'll suck, we'll laugh about it later. You'll be doing me a favor. It's not that big of a deal. And I'm like, well, if all you need me to do is suck, I can do that all day. So I showed up. And it was this long, and I just thought, well, it'd be kind of fun. I thought I was gonna get like a tour of the building or something. Like I really thought it was gonna be something like that informal. This was like the wilderness years of anime dubbing where this kind of stuff could happen. It doesn't happen anymore. So I showed up, and I was like, it's voice acting boot camp for me. It's dubbing boot camp where he's like, okay, this is how you read a dub script, which looks rather different than other types of scripts, and then here's the mic placement, and here's where you stand, and here's how you make this sound, and now match flaps, and it was just intense. And it was like 4 hours long or something, and I was like, it's the longest audition. I've never heard of an audition longer than 2 minutes. Like an audition is like, hi, I'm me, and here's my thing, and then they tell you to go away, and then they never call you. But this was long and intense, and we were like laying down track and like finding the voice, like it was a real acting workshop. And I was like, well, this is kind of cool. And then afterwards, I jumped out of the booth, and he's like, cool, here's a bunch of NDAs, you have to sign non-disclosure agreements. And as I signed them, I'm not looking at them very closely, which is my own mistake. And I was like, how does Funimation get anything done if it takes you this long to audition every single part? And he's like, oh, it doesn't. It takes like 10 minutes. You just got the part. We just recorded the first 6 episodes, and you just signed a contract. So screw you, you're an actor now. Be back here next Sunday so we can do episodes like, 5 through 10. And I was like, what? And so I literally got tricked into this business. Because I was working in marketing for a firm in Dallas for years, and then was doing this on the side, and they were like, you're doing what? You're in anime? Oh my God, I love that kind of thing. And then just ballooned into this like, oh, you can write? Do you want to write for this show? And eventually I was able to quit my day job and then go full time, and I haven't looked back, and that's been almost years ago. Was it what?
Was it unreal?
Don't make me that old.
I just
Back
don't
in the
know.
day, we used to record on reel-to-reel tapes.
Wow.
And light our way in the studio by torches.
Did you use wax cylinders?
Our anime was painted on cave walls deep beneath the earth.
Yeah, it was a weird time. Like Funimation has grown so much. Like I worked for Funimation when Funimation was just like on the 7th floor of a bank building in North Richland Hills. Like you'd show up late at night, knock on the door, and be like, "Can someone let me in?" And someone would be like, "Oh, you have a session?" Yeah. And like now it's this big it's like a proper studio. So it's crazy. But yeah, I literally got tricked into this business. So when someone asks me how to become a voice actor, my advice is do what I do. Do nothing. Wait to be asked and say no. Worked for me. Thank you for your question.
Of course. Can I ask one more question, or is that not allowed? Do I go to the back of the line? I can go to the back of the line.
You go ahead, ask it. Ask it.
Okay.
Ask
You
it.
guys do like impressions of one another. Just like you can do it as serious and
Oh,
joking
God.
as possible. Like just do it. Embarrass each other.
It is
Baby,
Friday.
secret. It's Friday, baby.
Hello, it is I, Brandon.
That's so low.
How are you all doing?
Wow, I wish I sounded that.
Did I not nail it?
No, that was spot on.
Wow, it's like
Spot
your
on.
mouth was moving, but I was hearing Brandon's voice. That's crazy. Man, no, I can't do impressions. I'm not very impressive.
Do it.
Do.
Buff
Excuse
Annie.
me.
Do it.
You did not trick me into signing a contract.
I
I
can.
owe you nothing.
I can.
I feel if I were to try and the glasses.
Take the glasses. The magic glasses.
Okay, all right. All right. Hello, I am J. Michael Tatum. Welcome to story time. That's what I think of, like
It's not.
J. Michael Tatum.
Wow, I sound pretty hot.
That's what I think of you. You do.
I can't.
I'm with you.
I
Like
can't
there's
do
a
Brandon's voice anymore because I'm old. So my voice is down here. It's a lot of shouting at people. But I can do the Brandon movements. The Brandon movements. He holds the mic like this, and he does this a lot. And he also makes weird Japanese gestures from his time in Japan. Well, he will do things. Literally, when I picked him up from the airport, when he came back home to the United States, one of the first things he did was like I handed him a gift or something. I don't remember what I had. Oh no, you needed Pepto. You needed Pepto-Bismol. He was like, please just have Pepto-Bismol when I get off the plane. And I'm like,
American
yeah. And
food
so
on
like,
the plane.
and he's like, and I'm gonna get a giant Coca-Cola with a free refill. And so I had these things waiting for him when he gets off the plane. His first thing was, hey, I'm like, you can't do that here. That makes sense, but that's the thing, right? And he does the Japanese gestures like to say no, don't do this. And I'm like, are you a referee? What's going on?
What you say when you like polite refuse.
No, I totally get it, but at the time I was like, we don't do, I mean, I wish we did. That's really cool. When you did that here, it's just everyone's like, time out, ninth down, or whatever, sports ball reference. So to be Brandon, you have to gesture a lot. You have to make fun little anime gestures, which is really, you are a living anime person.
I lived in Japan.
See, he's doing the thing. You see the
I didn't do anything.
It's so cute, he's doing the thing. There, that's all you get, sit down.
All right. Okay. Bye. I'll make you sign a contract one of these days.
Good luck, I'm very shrewd
DocuSign.
now.
DocuSign.
DocuSign.
DocuSign. It's useful.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hi.
May I ask you to do an impression for? Can I ask you to do a voice for France, Kiyoya, and Sebastian for me?
Jesus Christ.
All at the same time.
I don't, what do they say?
Can you say something really funny, like to Italy or something?
Be funny, Michael.
Be funny.
Be funny.
Dance, monkey, dance!
Can you do the laugh for me?
Okay, I will, instead of doing an impression of French, I will tell you a really funny story about that accent. So I speak French fluently, or did. It's mostly gone now because I don't get to use it very often, but I grew up speaking it as fluently as French because I learned it at the same time as my native tongue. And so I got a chance to do a convention in Montreal, Canada, Quebec, which is French-speaking Canada. And when I say Montreal, I really mean Montreal. And I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. I'm finally going to get to go to a foreign land to promote something I'm in? And I thought it'd be really fun if I brushed up on my French enough to be able to speak it, because Quebecois French is its own dialect of French, but it's very much the same as the sort of French I've learned. It's not terribly different, it's just got a slightly different accent and a few different words. So I thought, I'm going to learn this because I'm a guest in their country. I want to make an effort, you know? And so I can hear and understand and read and understand French perfectly, because it's a different part of your brain. But the part of your brain that produces speech on command is different, and that one wasn't talking to this side of my brain for months. So I was like, I need to really brush up on my conversational French so I can actually speak to people in French. If you go to Montreal, most everyone is bilingual there, but they're very proud of their French heritage, and so they will speak to you in French first, and then when they discover you're American, then they will drop down into their American accent. It's really funny. They'll be like, bienvenue, Mr. Tatum, and you're like, hello. They're like, hello, welcome to the hotel. Like, all trace of an accent disappears. It's hilarious. And they all do it, but I'm like, no. So I brushed up on my French for months before I went, and I get off the plane, and the first person I spoke to was my driver/handler for the weekend. It was really awesome. And she was like, bienvenue, Mr. Tatum, Mr. Bing, prenez aimer la réalisation. And I'm going, and I'm like, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I am so sorry. Like, my brain just goes, yeah, just speak in a French accent. It's the same. And I just did that, and we had this moment where I was like, I'll just get back on the plane, I'm sorry. And she just started laughing, and apparently it's my accent when I speak French is the Parisian accent, which French Canadians think is hilarious. They're like, she was like, oh my God, that's hilarious. Do that the entire weekend. Please, everyone will love you. And it was true. So doing the laugh for a bunch of French people and having them like clap every time was a supremely weird experience. But yeah, thank you for that memory, Tom. That was, France from Italia. Thank you, darling, I appreciate you. All right, next question. Someone are you wearing a Christmas sweater?
Yes, sir.
That's awesome. You are in the spirit.
You gotta be. This is a question for all three of you. I was wondering if there was ever a voice where you thought it was very bad whenever you did it, and then you look back on it, it's like, it was all right.
Oh, wait, where I decided it was all right later?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, no, I'm out.
Reverse is true in many cases. We're like, man, I nailed that. 10 years later, I'm like, why did they let me do that? I don't watch a lot of stuff that I'm in anymore. It's kind of odd. Contrary to popular belief, I don't just sit and listen to myself all day going, oh yes, that's amazing. Like, voice actors don't do that. We're in the booth, we have a relationship with the material in the here and now, and we try to forget about it because you gotta move on with your life. Because you never know how a show is gonna do, or if it's got, people will love it or hate it. So I try to just kind of do my job and then never ever listen to myself again. In the early days, I listened to myself a lot because it helps with your training as an actor. You have to kind of get comfortable with your voice, but I don't really go back and watch a lot of stuff that I've done because it's just, I don't know, I don't particularly like listening to myself. I love hearing other people, so I like to watch stuff that my husband, or that my friends are in, but other than that, no, I'm like, yeah. So I don't like, so yeah, I don't really have an opinion. Does that make sense? It's weird, I don't know. Do you have anything?
I don't think there's anything that I've done where I've been in the booth and been like, this is the worst thing. This is horrible. Maybe some accent work. If a director's like, you can do that accent, and I'm like, sure. I'm like, I'm the director, and you're like, you are.
Yeah, don't fire me, but like, can we talk about this stuff?
Can we discuss? Yeah. But no, I can't really think of anything that I was like, this is bad, and then look back and be like, wait, no, it's good.
May I ask a question that's kind of like a warped version of yours, just to see where it takes us?
Ooh.
What's the weirdest, most insane direction you've ever been given that your brain was like, how the hell am I gonna do that? But then you did it. And you were like, oh my God, nailed it. Or that you felt like, okay, that got something out of me. That director knew what they were doing. You're like, I love when stuff like that happens, when a director will be like, yes, one more time, but sound more like you garden roses. And you're like, what the hell does that mean? And you just try to process it, and in the processing, you end up doing something that's kind of cool. Yeah. Oh, damn. Anything?
I've got one from I had a voice teacher in college, and I know that it's not technically during a voice session, but the direction was fabulous. I'm singing, and he stops me, and he goes, Brandon, I need you to sound more purple. I stopped and went, purple? Ah, yes, let me just bring up my purple dial and turn it to the right. Yes, of course.
Boy, I don't know. I don't know about weirdest, but what springs to mind is when I was working on this game called Fallout 76. The director is no. Oh, do you? Oh, what?
I played Fallout.
See, I haven't,
Actually,
but like I don't know. I hear things from my brother. Yeah.
Apocalyptic, it's great. But yeah, please continue.
But like it was so awesome. We're like that creative team is really passionate, and like working with them is always so much fun. And our director, for one of the sessions, his whole thing was like he would describe what you were physically doing in the scene, and then you just had to do it. So he'd be like, you know, oh, you're reaching up on this shelf and you grab it, and then you're like trying to unscrew the thing and you can't, so you're like, screw it. And then you throw it away. And then he would like just wait for you to actually physically mime it out. And it was kind of awesome. Like we get a lot of technical notes, especially when you're working in anime, which is, you know, like, hey, speed it up. Hey, slow it down. Hey, can you bump this word? Stuff like that. And that's 100% fine. Like we, at the end of the day, have to like get through our loop count and make a viable product. But when you get to slow down and just get weird and artsy-fartsy with it, it is just such a rewarding experience.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you were talking about doing a show off stage. I hope you don't mind me bringing this up.
Oh, no, go for it.
But no, you were talking about doing cabaret.
Yeah.
Right, so you did musicals as well. But you have done them.
Yes,
Did you
sure.
enjoy your time on the stage?
I did, yes.
You did.
I did, yeah.
Did you find, like I've found, that having a physical action or something to make it even more real helps color your performance in like a really cool way?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, no, it's great. And like, that is why I will always tell people, like, before you go into voiceover, try to have some kind of practical performing experience, like do theater, do improv, do things like that. Because if you leap straight into voiceover, and it's not like forever, like obviously some people just come in and are amazing geniuses, but for the most part, it really helps to have that solid foundation of like, okay, I've done a scene where I had physical things to interact with, where there was another human being in the room that I had to listen to and respond to. Because when you get in the booth, you have to do all that in your head. So
you have nothing to rely on in the booth but like yourself, right? And
yeah.
I think that's great. Like on stage, when you're interacting with other people, it makes it more real, not just for the audience, but for yourself as an actor, right? And you have to know what that feels like. I argue, like you're kind of arguing, before you go in the booth, so you can bring that sense with you. And without that, I think you feel kind of lost, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The whole point is creating the illusion of reality. So like, you know, it sounds dumb, but like, what does it sound like when you lean over to pick up a coffee mug? You're gonna have to know that. So, you know, record yourself picking up coffee mugs, I think is the moral here. I don't know.
One of the things I love about recording from home primarily now, which most of us do about 90% of the time, I would say now, which is cool. I love working in my pajamas. But I like to bring objects with me into the booth so that I like from scene to scene, I'll just have something in my hand that I can interact with in a different way, whether it's a coffee mug or a pencil or like when I was recording Sebastian from Black Butler, I always had this cane. I don't know why, I picked it up and it just kind of said, hey, take me in with you. And so I brought the cane with me all the time in the booth and everyone's like, are you okay? I'm like, no, it's just my problem. Because I just was walking with a cane all the time. But like now I just have access to all that stuff in our house. So I don't have to pack up before I leave for a session. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna take this in there. And so it's kind of fun when you go into a booth after I've been in there. It looks like I've been doing Foley or something, when I'm not, because you can't make noises with any of that stuff or it's supposed to take. But I interact with it. Because it's like a little trick you can do, like especially if you're jumping from scene to scene and to change kind of the energy because time has passed. But for you, it's only been a couple minutes from line to line. I'll put down one thing and pick up another. The difference in your body makes a very subtle difference in how your voice processes the words you're saying. It's not something you often think about. But anyway, I'm not even sure what your question was anymore, but I hope we answered it.
Thank you, guys.
Also, love your sweater.
A good sweater.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Okay, so my question is, if you could have a video game, series, whatever, based or inspired by you, like your personality, your life, your choice, what genre would you want it to be, and what would you name it?
A video game based on my life would be the most boring. It just would be like, how long can you sit at home reading a book? Like that would be, the goal would just be that you just sit there and you have this pile of books to get through, and slowly, the longer you just sit there reading them, the pile slowly disappears. But quick, there's Amazon, there's more coming. Like that's the stake, I guess, and I don't know what I'd call it, a bookworm. Let's call it bookworm. Because that's all I do with my time, you guys. I write music and I read, and that's it, or I voice act. And then when I'm not doing that, I'm playing with my dogs, who are also very low activity dogs. They're two French bulldogs, and their favorite pastime is sleeping and farting. That's why we get along so well.
I'm like, me too. I guess the first thing that comes to mind is I would call the video game Death by Overwork, and it would be me trying to like escape from when I worked in Tokyo at the Japanese company I worked for. I would like try to escape, and like all these horrible things would go wrong, and it would be like a psychological horror game. Yeah.
I'm thinking like some Metal Gear Solid like undertones, like
Yeah.
stealth segments. Yeah.
A cake.
Oh yeah. Oh boy. What would I call a video game about my life? Boy. So it'd be a visual novel, because I'm very lazy and I don't want to have to draw a lot or make a lot of original assets. And I'm gonna call it. How do you spell it? I don't know. It's one of those things where it spreads by word of mouth and you have to figure out the spelling to find it on Steam.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
Two quick questions. First of all, Michael, I'm a huge fan. Tomoe from Kami-sama Kiss is my favorite role you've ever done. And a question for all of you: what's the most challenging thing when you do the voice recording at home?
Technology?
Yeah, making sure my Zoom camera's not on so they can't tell I'm not wearing pants. Honestly.
Yeah, for me, definitely the learning curve with the tech, because I've always loved working with engineers because I just get along with them, and they're largely responsible for making me sound good. That's like 10% my performance and like 90% what the engineer does with it afterwards. It makes it sound lush and beautiful, or whatever it needs to be. And when we started the home recording thing, most of us had to kind of learn how to engineer ourselves, and we had access to engineers who'd be there in the session going, no, hit that button, no, hit that button, no, the other button. And it was like trying to teach my mom how to program a VCR. Like, it was insane. I am not technically inclined. It's lovely because I have a whole Brandon in the house, but I can't tell you how often I'll be in a session and the director and the engineer and everyone else on the other end of the wire will hear me go, Brandon!
No, this is what I hear. No. I'll be upstairs, and this is what I hear.
Babe! Babe! It's not scrolling! Babe! I don't know! And every day he will come, just about once a day, he will come and I'm like, I can't do the thing, it's not opening. I'm hitting the button, I'm putting in the password, I'm scrolling, I'm hitting the shift key, blah, blah, blah. Look, I'm doing it, and I'll do it. And I swear to God, I'll do it exactly like he taught me. He sits down, does the exact same thing, and the computer's like, now I'll work. So it's like, computers have a mind of their own, and they're just intimidated by Brandon, and not at all by me. So that's been the biggest challenge. Also, I miss just the interaction. Going with people, you know, we as actors record independently, but it's nice to have the director and the engineer there. And also when we do see other actors, it's either at a con or at the studio in the hallways, and so it's kind of nice to catch up with people. Whenever I had a session in the before times, I would go like 30, 40 minutes early just to kind of chill in the lobby of the studio to chat with people. And it's very common to do that. And I miss that because I'm I guess the word is an ambivert, someone who's kind of introverted but can be extroverted, or vice versa. I can be very extroverted, but it takes a lot of, it really runs my battery down. But if I don't do it for a while, it's really hard to, like, I forget how to word. And so the first few times, I went into a session a few months ago when restrictions had settled down a little bit, and it was my first time in this particular studio, so I was a bit nervous because I didn't know anyone. And I was really looking forward to it, and I was like the new kid at school. I was like, oh, I'm out of practice peopling. I don't know how to people. And so, but the engineer and I just connected, and it was such a wonderful experience. This little thing I was working on that was super fun, but just what I remember, I don't even remember the show I was working on, but I remember the interaction with the engineer, that we just had this thing, and I missed that. I missed that a lot. Because there's people that, friends, that, you know, close friends and loved ones that live on the other side of the country now that we only hear in our cans. We don't see them anymore. So I miss that. I miss the hell out of that.
I will say, when you go into a session, one of my favorite things about this industry and what we do is when you go into the studio and you're with an engineer and a director and you're all on the same page, it's like having a really fun group project. You know, like working together, we're gonna do this thing as a team, and sometimes it's a little sad when you can't see those faces on the other side of the glass.
Also, some of the software we use has like a 30-second delay a lot of the time, which you wouldn't think makes a big difference in your social life, but like, oh my God, nothing kills a joke quite like everybody talking over each other at the exact same time and then just being like, what was that? Oh no, I was telling the joke about the chicken crossing the road. Well, let's just go to the next cue.
No, I get that. The delay changes things a little bit.
We had to kind of relate to each other in this weird distance now, which we're coping with, and like there are advantages to recording from home, which I much prefer, like not having to worry about like wearing pants. So I'm like, I'm home, I'll just go in, wear my underwear. You know, like that's kind of cool. Can't do that in the studio, but I do miss the human interaction, not being. I miss unmediated human interaction.
It was harder at the beginning because I think studios were still trying to figure out how to move everything remote. It was a huge undertaking, and some of us were running ADR sessions, like anime sessions, like dubbing sessions specifically, in Pro Tools. Like we would be sent the entire Pro Tools file. Now, granted, we offered. We were like, okay, let's try this. I want to try this.
He offered.
I offered. I'm the insane one. And because I don't know. And I learned. I have so much more, I already had respect for engineers, but my respect like quintupled after that. Because I was like, this is so hard. This is like all the keyword commands, and then you're trying to like turn on beeps and off audio tracks and then act and read the script, and like it was hard. It was
that sounds
frustrating.
Like an actual nightmare.
It was.
It's
Are
like
you
trying
like
to
typing
jump.
and acting at the same time?
Yeah,
Sometimes, yeah.
And it's like trying to jump into a rolling car with an armful of groceries.
Oh, like, I can do this. This is fine. And after a month of that, I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this anymore. Thank you. Thank you.
You lasted a month?
Lasted a month. I learned. I learned a lot about Pro Tools though.
I bet.
But it was trial by fire.
Oh my God. I'm immensely impressed. I would have made it an hour and I'd be crying the whole time.
That was me. I just bitched the entire time. I'm like, I can't do this. I don't know what I'm doing. And they're like, well, just click that button. I'm like, what? Which button? There's all the buttons look the same. It's like trying to get me to defuse a bomb.
Oh boy.
Just cut the red wire. I'm colorblind. I'm not colorblind. I just
There
say
are
that.
9 red wires. Which red?
There are 9 red wires. Everything's red. But yeah, it was weird. It was a weird time.
I can imagine. I have a second question. What's your favorite holiday song?
Favorite holiday song? Doesn't matter what holiday.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter.
Oh my God. I've always been a fan. I'm a big Halloween guy. I love Halloween. So I'm a big kid, and don't get me wrong. I love Christmas and New Year's and all that stuff. But Halloween is where, like, you know, I like to say it's the one day a year I don't have to wear a mask. But I'm a huge fan of just the entire score of Nightmare Before Christmas, which functions as both, Halloween. But man, Halloween is still like my go-to Halloween song. I just love that.
I mean, listen, the Monster Mash is a graveyard smash. Yeah. So, you know.
Okay, mine is Auld Lang Syne, which is traditionally sung New Year's, right? But that's my favorite song because in Japan, shops and stores will play it over the loudspeaker, like an instrumental version of it on a loudspeaker, to tell everyone to go home because we're closing. Isn't that weird? It's a thing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
So, I'm really bad with names, but this question is more for you in the middle. But if you all want to answer, I'm super down. So to preface, I'm hoping to move to Japan in about a year or two because I help translate some manga and I think it'd be easier to do that. Do you have any advice for people who are going to move or live out there?
Love yourself because it's hard. It's difficult. You're trying to move over there to translate manga more?
Yeah.
I wish I was giving like a Japanese panel because I could talk for hours on this. Look into the CIR program too if you want like if they're still doing the CIR program now. It's like the JET program but like level 2, and it's instead of teaching, you are placed in a government office somewhere in Japan and you translate stuff and you'll interpret for people, and I know a lot of people that have used their language skills really well, but that part's nice because the Japanese government takes care of everything. They're like, you're here, your apartment is here, this is how you get to where you need to go, which is nice because I was like, no, I'm gonna work in a Japanese company, and I did everything myself and it was miserable. Don't do that. Love yourself. So that's my recommendation for translation.
I'm the last person to ask. It sounds really scary to me. When we were first together, he lived in Japan, and so we'd be on the phone all the time, and he would be telling me about his daily experiences, and I was like, I would not last a day living in Japan. I'm far too tall. It is not a tall person's world as it is, but Japan, I would feel like, oh my God, how do I fit in this car or this, train? I don't know, it's like anything, I guess, having lived, having done some big moves in my life, not necessarily out of the country, like I can tell you, you have to be prepared. It's not gonna be, it's gonna be tough, like whatever you do. I noticed that one of the things you talked about a lot is how difficult it is to make friends in Japan sometimes, because it seems to be a cultural thing where everyone's working, and so there's just not a lot of socializing unless it's with people with whom you already work. So you might find it a little bit lonely unless you can find expats that are having a similar experience, but you really have to, it seemed to me from talking to you that if you want to socialize or have a social life in Japan, or a support network, you have to go maybe a little further out of your way to secure one than you might choose to. But don't put it off. When you move there, start making friends as quickly as possible, because the longer you wait on doing it, the harder it becomes. Does that make sense? Yeah. But good luck to you. That sounds really cool. I think some really great things will happen, but it'll be tough. Be prepared for it to be tough. It's always tough to move away. But if you got what it takes, and it sounds like you do, I think you'll do really well. Just you got to power through. But yeah, thank you for your question.
Thank you so much.
I would say get as many tattoos as possible so that they know you mean business. I've never been to Japan, but I've played the Yakuza games. Is that?
I think they're pretty accurate.
Yeah, they have to be.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sorry, Xander, they don't love you.
How very dare.
Thank you. Oh, yes.
Hello.
Hi there. I'm asking this as someone who doesn't know anything about acting. So I was wondering, has there been many times where you are just given a direction, you give your performance, and then the director comes back with another voice, you do it again, and there's just a really kind of frustrating back and forth. Is that something that happens in voice acting?
Never, ever. Anytime a director gives us a direction, we do it and we know exactly what they want immediately, and it's perfect, and it's rainbows and butterflies.
It kind of turns out that the human language is really flawed at communicating complex ideas. And then sometimes it's just oh my God, I will always remember I was working on this show, and I adore working with this director. He is an artist through and through. But doing reactions for him is the worst time you'll ever have in your life. So we're doing this scene, and he's like, I have one line. It's, oh! Seems simple enough. He's like, okay, so you come in, and then you see the guy, and you think he might have killed your father, but he's a lifelong friend, so you don't want to admit to yourself that you know that he killed your father. And go. Let's roll one back. I really need a little bit more tension in there because you really like, he might have killed your daddy. Oh. You lost him, Matt. It's just, oh my God.
I had a session for a commercial spot years ago, and I was super excited because it was my first national spot, which is like, it means it's gonna play all over the place, and it usually means more money. But I hadn't worked with a studio before, I hadn't worked with a client before, so it was all new to me, and I was like, okay. And it was the first really big gig I had landed through my agent that I had just signed with at the time. So there was a lot riding on this. And so I was prepared to I'm gonna go and I'm gonna be super pro. The cool thing about coming into, I'll say real quickly about coming from a dubbing background is when you do other types of voice work, man, if you have to shave a second or two off of a thing and you can do it, they look at you like you've just invented the wheel. They'll be like, we're so sorry, we love that read, but we just need, can you take us, is there any possible way you could just take a second off of it? And you're like, yeah, sure, and you do it, and they're like,
Oh my gosh,
how did you do it? Like, it's hilarious. We're like, we do that all day, right? But I was in this spot, and this woman that wanted to direct me, she wasn't a director, she was a creative writer, and she wrote the spot, and they just told her to direct it, and she had no experience, and she also had zero affectation in her voice. Everything was very monotone, there were no emotions, so I couldn't really read her very well, and she would give me line reads, which some actors hate being line read. That's when the director will, no, say it like this, and they'll just mime what they want you to do. And that sometimes it's annoying, but for the most part, I'm like, if they're trying to get you to somewhere and like take 5 and we're not there yet, I'm like, just tell me how you want me to do it and I'll imitate you. But she'd be like, no, it's more like this. And we went on, but imagine like the line is very, it's a very robust spot. So the voice is very like, all the stuffed crust pizza you've ever dreamed of kind of thing. And so I give that a line, and that was my whole line, was just like the tag at the end. And then she's like, okay, that was good. So what you did was all the stuffed crust pizza you could ever dream of. Could you do it more like all the stuffed crust pizza you could ever dream of? And I'm like, and your job is to go, yeah, good note. And just to be like, all the stuffed crust pizza you could ever dream of. Wait 5 seconds. Okay, that was pretty good. Can you try one like, all the stuffed crust pizza you could ever, and I'm just like, sure, and I'm like, we go back and forth, and I'm just like, it's great when you just look at the engineer who's sitting in such a way that she can't really see his face, she can only see my face looking at his face, and I have to hide the fact that he's going, I'm just kind of, yeah. And I mean, this was like 30 minutes of like one line, and every time she'd be like, try again with more like this. And I'd be like, and I wanted so badly just to read it exactly like that, but you can't, because I'm in her head, she probably thinks she sounds like blah, 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 but it's like, there's just no connection there, because she's not an actor, she's not trained, it's not her thing. And she was very lovely otherwise, but it was a rough go, but that kind of stuff happens a lot.
I had an ADR project I was working on, which that's like what we do for anime, but usually it's over like live action. And the director was Italian. And I'm gonna try and do this accent, and I'm gonna sound like Father Guido Sarducci, like it's gonna be bad. But his big thing was always be as flat as possible. So the line would be like, hey, what the hell? And you'd be like, hey, what the hell? And he'd be like, no, what you gotta do is say, hi, what the hell? Very flat. And I was just like, what do I do?
That's not flat at all, especially when he's saying it.
I mean, like, I couldn't see him, and I could tell he was talking with his hands when he was like giving
in a very
the line.
pointed, non-flat way.
Exactly. And it was just like, I don't know what to do here. I don't know what you want.
Well, and also that's a line of surprise. So how does it work flat? Hey, what the hell? Like what?
Yeah, no. And it was like yelled across the room too. So it was like, hey, what the hell? He's like, it's gotta be a flatter. Hi, what the hell?
Oh, wait, weren't you directed by a Japanese client one time?
Several times. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, that wasn't the client. So I was auditioning for. Well, I shouldn't say, it was years ago now. But they were very particular about what they wanted. So there was several rounds of auditions and callbacks, which is kind of rare for dubbing. Usually there's one audition and then you get it or you don't. But this one they were like, oh, we like him and him and him. Let's get them all back in and have them read it. And they really liked me, but I had to audition like 5 times for it. And every time they would shoot back, they would email the director with what they wanted a little differently. They just really, they wanted to be absolutely certain. It was a big deal, so I don't blame them for wanting to be that specific. But things get lost in translation, and I literally got the note bigger but smaller.
You know, bigger but
It's
smaller.
like bigger.
Name your sex tape. Oh, sorry. I keep forgetting this is PG.
Save it for the 18. No, I was once directed by a British person who was in Britain at the time. They were not phoning it in. They were source connecting in, and so they were in my cans. And I was playing a British character, which is no pressure at all. Like I'm trying to do this accent that's very real, earthy, sort of northern British sort of accent, which I could do multiple British accents, but I'd never been directed by a Brit in the accent. And this guy was also like, but he kept directing me geographically. Like he'd be like, no, you've gone too far south. You got to bring it back up, right? You're in Sussex. I need you like up here. And like he kept doing that. Oh yeah, right. Let me bring it back up. I don't know where any of that is. And I'm just kind of like, oh, sure. And at some point, like it was so. He was a lovely person to work with, but he kept doing the geography thing. And I finally said, I'm American. I have no idea where any of these places are you're talking about. You also all sound the same to us. And he laughed, and after that, he just kind of let me do what I want. I was like, can I ask a question? He's like, yeah, sure. I'm like, the accent you want is your accent, right? It's where you're from. It's your accent. He's like, yeah. I'm like, will you just say the line for me real quick? And he's like, all right. And he did the line, and so I just imitated him the whole time. He's like, oh yeah, that works, not bad. And I was like, and it was hilarious. I was just like, it was the weirdest direction of being like, no, more north and then turn right, at Sussex. And I'm like, yeah, of course. How could I be so foolish?
Right, now you've got to cross the street, right? We need you, you go to the light, right?
Stay home.
And then you cross the street back again. I need you on 3rd, you're on 2nd right now.
Right, so no, you've gone too
Good.
far. You're in Madame Tussauds. I need you at the Gloucester. Right, so sorry.
Like it was the weirdest thing. Like he was very, very particular too. I've never had someone be that particular. He's the one that directed me. He's like, oh no, that laugh was so good, but it lost a bit of the British. I'm like, you laugh differently? I didn't know laughs had accents except for France, but it was just weird. So I was like, so I just laughed again the same way. And he's like, there it is. And that is my tip to you as an actor. If you don't know what you're doing, just keep doing the same thing until you wear them down.
Good advice.
Thank you, Rick.
Those are some awesome stories. You guys are great. Thank you so much, dude.
How much time do we have? We have 5 minutes.
We have 5 minutes
Okay,
left.
so we'll try to be
I'm so
quick
sorry.
now, which means I'll stop talking.
I love how the advice that you're giving is say no and then just keep going and doing the same thing over and over again. I love that.
Like the anti-acting.
Yeah. So just a quick question. It's more technical than anything else. Basically, I'm also a budding voice actor and I have my own home setup. I can't fucking speak. Sorry. So what microphones do you guys use? Like I use Blue Yeti, but I want to know like what you guys use.
Can I, just real quick, I'm happy to answer that, but there's a little bit of match the equipment to the job you're doing. You can make, if you treat your space well, you can get an amazing sound on a Blue Yeti.
Okay.
And if you're not, booking jobs that are gonna pay you thousands of dollars, maybe don't invest thousands of dollars in like a shotgun or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And your space is always gonna be more important than your mic. And the last bit I'll say is what mic sounds, or is best, is the mic that sounds best on your voice. There are standardized, people love the Neumann TLM 103, people love the Neumann U87, the Sennheiser M416 shotgun. Those are all standardized across the board. And they don't work for everybody. This might be like bad advice, but you can also just lie. Like if a producer asks it, like I do it all the time. I shouldn't admit this, but it's true. It's like I know my voice and I know which mics work on that. So yeah. So like when you're doing your research, go to like a Guitar Center, try out a bunch of different mics, find out what works best for you that's within a reasonable budget, and then focus way more of your time on treating your space. That's my terrible advice.
Valid advice.
Oh, I second that. Yeah, absolutely.
I third that.
Hello.
Hello.
So with the holidays, like Christmas being next week, I think, my question is, if there was anyone you could, who you've ever worked with, and like engineers, directors, anyone, not your husband, who you could invite to Christmas dinner, why would you invite them?
There's so many, it's hard to pare it down, really. God, one of my favorite people to work with in this business is Raleigh Pickens. He's the chief engineer and director for Okatron that does a lot. It's Chris Abbott's studio, and he works on he's directing the Moriarty the Patriot dub, for those of you that have seen that. And he's just a wonderful gentleman. I love working with him. And we don't really spend a lot of time together. And I mean, I've known him for almost 20 years, but we don't really hang out, because I'm very homebody. But man, I would love to have Raleigh over for Christmas. That'd just be fun. Yeah, Raleigh's like, I don't know, we have that connection, but we've never really like hung out. That'd be fun. But I could choose literally dozens.
There are so many.
That's just the top of mind. I had a really, really great session with him a few days before traveling to Con, and I always have a good time when Raleigh's directing me. And he's also one of those few directors whose personalities comes through even on Source Connect, which is hard for most people to kind of, his personality comes through without a single problem, even when the connection is crappy. So yeah, I love that man. I love that man dearly.
There are a ton of people we'd probably invite to Christmas dinner. I guess someone who just comes to mind like right now is probably Jeremy Inman. He's the director of Mushoku Tensei, Jobless Reincarnation right now, and Back Arrow is what we've been recording together. And he's funny. He's just a funny, larger-than-life dude. And you're gonna have a good time with him and his directing. Might be deaf. He's loud, but it's fun. He's jolly.
It's really hard, yeah, because like most of my friends are, people in the industry. Because work-life balance, what's that? Haha! Yeah, so it's like, I don't know, it's so hard to like pick one and just be like, this one, you come home with me for Christmas. It's not weird, get in plane. Thank you so much.
No problem. You guys have a great day.
You as well.
Well, I think that's it for us. We're gonna wrap it up now. Thank you guys for coming. I think we're all gonna be signing now. Are we?
Oh, I'm gonna go take a nap. It is.
Xander's gonna take a nap. The rest of us will be signing.
And that'll be in panel room 4 that we're taking the nap. No,
The nap
in
room.
panel room
Ooh,
4.
that'd be fun.
That would be great.
Just a quick reminder, Brandon's concert is tonight at 7. What room is it?
Oh, it is. It is special events. Crystal J is the name of the room. Crystal J.
And we're gonna take a little break and then be at our table signing. So come and see us. And guys, thank you so much for wearing your masks. You're such awesome people. Appreciate you. Have a good con. Stay safe.
Thank you so much.